Thank you for joining us on Republic TV. You're watching This is Exclusive. Ladies and gentlemen, at 7 p.m., we're getting you two stories which are not really exclusive, but we are getting you pictures. We're getting you reports. We're getting you numbers. We're getting you two stories which no other channel will show you or talk about. First up, we will talk about NOTA for AQI, a campaign that Republic started, a campaign that is gathering momentum, a campaign that politicians have begun responding to. That and the Save the Aravallis campaign is on our show tonight. Here are the headlines. Parliament ignores India's biggest public health emergency. Debate on pollution is once again pushed as politicians choose to ignore the AQI emergency that affects almost 60% of India. Is NOTA the only option if politicians fail to address an issue bigger than COVID? NOTA for AQI becomes the biggest viral campaign of 2025. Campaign to save the Aravallis gathers steam. National concern over redefining the Aravalli mountain range that protects all of North India. Activists say approval of new definition of the Aravallis will open up the mountain range for mining exploitation across the 650-kilometer belt. They say that new definition ensures more than 90% of the Aravalli hills will not even be counted as Aravalli anymore. Ladies and gentlemen, Parliament has found time for everything. Everything except the people of India. While political noise dominates the floor of the House, India is choking city by city, breath by breath. Now, this is not a peripheral issue. They talk about vote chori, they talk about Ji Ram Ji. But the issue of AQI is not something to be dumped, deferred, or buried in parliamentary paperwork. Now, AQI and pollution demands a debate. We've been asking for it. It demands urgency. It needs to be done now, given that AQI is expected to worsen next week. Now, this demand that Parliament be extended, because Parliament is ours, issues need to be of the people, they cannot be ignored. An emergency of this scale cannot be ignored by the MPs, and tomorrow is perhaps one of the last days they can do it before the end of 2025. Now, let's call it what it is, India's biggest public health emergency. In fact, it's bigger than COVID. Right now, Delhi is well over 400 AQI. It's hazardous. Visakhapatnam, 339, severe category. Gorakhpur, Uttar Pradesh, 396, severe category. Mednipur, Bengal, 321, severe category. Kharagpur, 310, severe category. Patna, 352, severe category. Lucknow, 348, severe. Ludhiana, 372, severe. Amritsar, 397, severe. Now, most of India, almost 60% of India is affected when you look at the quality of air. Now, these are not just numbers. These are lungs under attack, and people are asking for an intervention, an emergency intervention, ladies and gentlemen. And that is why here on Republic, we are breaking the usual format. We are breaking the usual format to talk about this emergency. Look at this map. The map there shows you the air emergency in India. 60% of India is affected as a result of the air emergency. Now, all these purple and the red dots that you see there are areas where the air quality is either poor, very poor, severe, hazardous, and most of the states from Gujarat to Rajasthan, Punjab, parts of Jammu, Uttar Pradesh, Delhi, Haryana, Bihar, West Bengal, Odisha, and you look at even the cities along the coast in Andhra Pradesh, many areas are affected, many cities, many states. 60% of India is affected. And that is why we are saying NOTA for AQI. If politicians who we have voted for don't want to talk about it, then why do we vote at all, isn't it? Here's the story so far.
As Delhi chokes yet again, its leaders look the other way. The air is poisonous, pollution levels are soaring. But inside the house, there was no debate, no discussion, no urgency. What you see on screen is the real-time data of the soaring AQI in just the national capital. The data represents AQI from severe to hazardous situation. This comparison among the AQI of Delhi and other national capitals shows the pathetic situation Indians are left to live in. Instead of addressing Delhi's worsening air crisis, lawmakers choose adjournment. Once again, pollution was pushed to the back burner. The right to breathe fresh air has become a privilege for a layman in India as poor AQI becomes a nationwide biggest health emergency that affects 60% of India. The past few days in Parliament witnessed several discussions and debates. From renaming Mangrega to VBG Ramji to vote chori to Vande Mataram. But the debate on the biggest public health emergency was nowhere to be found. With just one day remaining for the winter session of the Parliament to conclude, debate on worsening AQI across the nation seems difficult, showcasing how people-centric issues hold the least importance for our very own elected politicians.
Another long line outside the CNG pump, as you can see, as there are checkings going on at the petrol pumps to make sure that every vehicle has a PUC certificate, which is a pollution under control certificate. From today onwards, there are around 78 to 80 teams deployed at various petrol pumps and borders to make sure that proper checking is done. So if any vehicle does not have the mandatory PUC certificate, they will not be allowed to get the fuel.
But Republic chose to make a difference. With our campaign, #NOTA for AQI, we chose not to look the other way and echo public sentiments and demand for the right to breathe fresh air. Delhi government has ordered that the vehicles without a valid pollution under control certificate will not be provided fuel at petrol pumps in Delhi. But the question still remains, is it enough? Delhi is gasping, the air is deadly, and the silence in power is no solution. Because the right to breathe cannot wait for the next season.
And another linked story, ladies and gentlemen, you can't look at them in isolation. The Aravalli range, one of the world's oldest mountain range, dates back almost 1.8 billion years to form. And North India's natural shield against desertification is under a huge threat, not from nature, but from a change in definition. A new classification which now proposes that a landform will be recognized as part of the Aravalli only if it is 100 meters in height or higher. Now, on paper, it may look extremely technical, may sound technical, but on the ground, its impact on the Aravalli range is devastating, on India is devastating. By this definition, only 8.7% of the Aravalli range technically qualifies instantly, stripping almost 91.3% of the Aravalli range of its legal entity as Aravalli. So what does this mean? Simply over 90% of the Aravalli range will no longer be counted as Aravalli at all. Now, that is the implication, and therefore no longer perhaps even protected. And that opens the door for large-scale mining, real estate activity, irreversible ecological damage. Now, environmentalists, experts are warning that this is not just about hills or forests. It's about the survival of North India's climate balance. And if the Aravalli dies, experts caution, vast parts of North India could edge towards desertification. Now, the question that all of us are asking is, can we afford to redefine and destroy the first line of environmental defense in India?
India's oldest mountain range is at the center of a growing national storm. A Supreme Court verdict redefining the Aravalli Hills has triggered protests, panic, and fears of irreversible environmental damage. On the 20th of November, the Supreme Court accepted a new definition proposed by the Union Environment Ministry, saying only landforms rising 100 meters or more above the surrounding terrain will now be legally recognized as Aravalli Hills. This verdict removes protection from nearly 90% of the Aravalli region, opening the door to mining, real estate and large-scale destruction. Environmental experts warn this is no longer just an ecological issue, as the Aravallis act as a national security wall, blocking the spread of desert sands from the Thar Desert. These hills help reduce extreme heat and protect the climate across the region. Lower ridges, now excluded, play a crucial role in groundwater recharge, dust control and temperature regulation, especially for Delhi NCR. But removing these natural barriers will worsen air pollution, intensify heat waves and accelerate water scarcity for millions in Rajasthan, Haryana and NCR. The Aravallis are not just hills, they are the green lungs of North India, a climate shield, a water source and a frontline defense against environmental collapse. Once these ancient hills are lost, the damage may be permanent and the cost national.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, you try and just go through the map of the Aravalli range, where the Aravallis are located and why they are so critical for India, for all of India. Just take a look at that. It's a 650-kilometer belt, and this is the Aravalli range. This is the Aravalli range, and it essentially, starting from Gujarat, cuts through Rajasthan, all of Rajasthan, Haryana, Delhi, and almost, there are parts of Madhya Pradesh that are also close to the Aravalli range. So it acts like a barrier, like a wall that stops the desertification of the entire northern region. And that is why if you look to the left of the Aravallis and to the right of Aravallis, you will see a stark difference. To the left of Aravallis, the entire area is almost desertified. It's almost like a desert. It's part of Rajasthan. And on the right, it's because of the Aravallis that there is life, there is greenery, there is an ecosystem. And that is why the Aravallis become important. And if 90% of this, imagine the impact if 90% of the Aravalli range were to simply disappear overnight because it doesn't come under the definition of a mountain if it's less than 100 meters in height, which is almost 90% of the range. 90% of the Aravalli range will be less than 100 meters, especially in Rajasthan. And that is why this is going to be an extremely critical decision. And if it goes through, many experts believe that mining firms could run riot. Mining firms could destroy the Aravalli range. And not just mining firms, real estate firms, there could be complete destruction of the green belt, the Aravalli range. And that is why this is so important. Ladies and gentlemen, we have also accessed some breaking news updates that I want to now bring you on the show this evening. Some breaking news updates that we gathered of what the government report in May 2025 had warned. Republic has accessed a report about how the government had warned about mining risks in Aravalli. This report, interestingly, was published in May 2025. The Ministry of Environment and Forest was also a part of the report. There were different state governments, forest departments of Haryana, Forest Department of Gujarat, Forest Department of Rajasthan, also involved in the preparation of this report. And this report specifically said, let's put out the graphics of what the report said. The report said that yes, let's put out the government report graphics of what the government had warned, right? It said the Aravalli faces increasing threats due to mining, and that the mining activities had dried up lakes in the Aravalli range, and the unchecked mining, especially of silica and granite, had taken place in the last 20 years, which were rampant, and that the mining lease granted by the Rajasthan government especially accounted for almost 80% of the mining that takes place in all of the Aravalli range. And that mining, mining is another issue that was noticed in areas that are adjacent to Haryana as well. So it's not just in Rajasthan, in parts of Gujarat, in Haryana, and that interventions are needed to urgently regulate mining in rocky patches. Now, why are we getting you this report? Because if the government was warned about the dangers of mining, then how is it that mining was allowed? How is it that 90% of Aravallis are not Aravallis anymore, as per the definition, going by the definition? And that is why, ladies and gentlemen, this is extremely critical. Once again, there's a government report. It's a government report, and this government report has been accessed by Republic TV, and we will tell you more about the Aravalli range. It's a court order. In fact, Supreme Court gave a verdict in November 2025. It's one of the final orders of the former Chief Justice of India, CJI Gavai. It was one of his last orders, and it is extremely controversial. People are extremely angry about it. Let me go across to Neelam Ahluwalia, who's joining us on the show. Neelam Ahluwalia is the founder of our People for Aravallis campaign, and she's joining us on the show. Neelam, if you can simplify it for our viewers, why this order or the decision to change the definition is extremely dangerous for the Aravallis.
Hi. So essentially, the Aravalli range is already bleeding in a very, very bad manner. We actually gave two big reports to the Ministry of Environment as well as the Haryana government earlier this year in May and June, talking about how, because of mining, 2 complete districts in Haryana have been annihilated to the ground. So out of 7 districts in Haryana, the Aravallis are just like, left to like rubble and dust in 2 districts of Charkhi Dadri and Bhiwani. On top of that, across Rajasthan, there are, there's mining happening in every district. There are 27 districts out of 41, which is 65% of Rajasthan, where the Aravallis are present. And there is not a single district where the Aravallis are not bleeding because of mining. There are 3 districts in Gujarat, the same situation there. So in 37 districts in Gujarat, Haryana, and Rajasthan, the Aravallis are already in a very bad state. Because of the mining having raised the hills to the ground, this is a 2017 report which came out that there are 12 breaches that have already been formed in the Aravallis, because of which the desert is advancing towards eastern Rajasthan, western UP, Haryana, Delhi. So now the situation of desertification is that 360,000 hectares of land in Haryana is already degraded. These are government figures from 2021 Desertification Atlas. 60% of Rajasthan has already been degraded. What do we mean when we say degraded? It means that your food security is totally threatened. So opening up 90% of the range to mining is, I don't know how people, millions of people living in Northwest India are going to live. So our water security is directly, it's directly linked to the Aravallis. These are our lifelines for water and for air. There is the water recharge potential of the Aravallis is 2 million liters per hectare. When mining happens, it damages the aquifers. In a lot of the cases, even now, the licensed mining goes beyond, it breaches the groundwater level. So wherever the mining has been happening across the range, the water level, groundwater levels have gone down to like 1,000 feet, 1,500 feet. Wells have dried up. The rivers flowing out of the Aravallis have dried up because of mining, or they are like badly polluted. So where are people going to get the water from? Groundwater is finishing. Surface water bodies have vanished as a result of mining. And now instead of conserving the range, you want to open 90% of it to mining. So where are the people going to go? Where is the wildlife going to go? It is unthinkable what is happening. And how can you define India's oldest mountain range? Tomorrow you're going to say that Ganga only exists till like 20 feet and below that there is no Ganga. Like how can, it is so unscientific. Aravallis are present as much as they are above the ground. they are also below the ground.
Yeah.
So how can you say that only Aravallis which are above 100 meters are counted as Aravallis? And where is the process of public consultation? How can the government just decide what is the Aravallis and the Supreme Court accepts it?
Neelam, can I ask you?
What about all the people who are living in the Aravalli belt whose lives are going to be directly impacted? Not just people who are living in the Aravalli belt, even beyond that. Because when the Aravalli hills go, the desertification is not just going to be in Rajasthan and Haryana where the Aravallis are. It's going to extend to Madhya Pradesh, to Uttar Pradesh, to Haryana, to Delhi. तो लोगों से पूछा गया है क्या?
I'm asking you a question, Neelam. Neelam, can you hear me? My question is, if 90% of Aravallis will no more be a part of the range as per the definition, right? It obviously opens up a lot of options for those who want to take advantage of that. And my question to you, specific question is, if there is a government report that warns about mining, and warns specifically about mining on the Rajasthan side, and there is a report that says 80% of the licenses are given in Rajasthan for all the mining that happens around Aravallis, right? Now, by definition, if 90% of Aravallis are not going to be Aravallis anymore, who benefits? Is it the mining lobby that benefits?
Obviously, that's a straight off thing. I mean, the Supreme Court order is very specifically saying that this definition is with regards to mining. So, our point is that why do you want to mine, our ecological heritage? Why is the government not looking at alternative building materials? You're going to raise an entire range, which is critical for ecosystem services for entire North India, because you want to make buildings and you want to make roads. How regressive can we get in a time when India is one of the most vulnerable countries to climate change? So we want to finish off our lifeline for air and water.
Yeah, it appears to be the case. Thank you, Neelam, for speaking to Republic and for simplifying it for our viewers, helping them understand, because a lot of people joining us from different parts of the country. And if you're watching this broadcast, ladies and gentlemen, it's not just a story that impacts one part of the country. It is a story that impacts all of India. It is a story that will likely impact at least 7 to 8 states of India. And that is why this is extremely critical. Once again, I'm taking you through the map of why the Aravalli range, preservation of the Aravalli range is critical. From Gujarat to Rajasthan to Haryana to parts of Uttar Pradesh and Madhya Pradesh, ladies and gentlemen, the Aravalli range acts as a shield. It acts like a barrier. It acts like a barrier. And to the left of the shield, is mostly desert land, a dry land. And to the right, the Aravallis make sure that they block all the desertification of all the states on the right. And that is why it is so critical for us to preserve it. And if by definition you're changing 90% of that, if by definition you say 90% of the Aravalli range is not Aravalli anymore, it then opens up the opportunity for mining firms, perhaps mining lobbies, mining giants, for the real estate guys to just destroy the Aravalli range, which is extremely, extremely critical. It's a 1.8 billion mountain. On that note, we'll take a break on This Is Exclusive, ladies and gentlemen. 2 big debates coming up on the show tonight. At 8 p.m, NOTA for AQI, our campaign continues. Until there is a debate, we will keep asking politicians that uncomfortable questions. And at 9 p.m, Save the Aravallis with Arnab. Special debates. Stay tuned.